UI over the next month or two. So you'll see things get even better. But, high level, a lot of things that were up here along the top have now moved over here to the left-hand sidebar. So a lot of functionality is the same. So, screens and blocks, you can go into navigate mode, you can go into preview mode. And these, data, custom code, variables, themes, assets, and settings all along here the left-hand side. They used to be along the top here. So really just moving from the top to the left-hand side, getting ready to refactor the rest of this. So these, just so you guys get a sense in the future, these things are still using the modals, but a lot of these functions are going to move away from modals into pages in the next update that we're doing. And our goal is eventually to have code view next to preview view, so you can actually kind of edit your code and see the preview live as well. And a number of other kind of updates that are happening. The other thing that's changed is that we've moved the kind of preview settings that were over here on the right up into the center, right? So now you can change kind of the view of the app that you're looking at pretty easily and switch between the preview modes, whether you're design mode or web or iOS. I'm in a demo account, so don't have access to that. But the other thing we've changed is that up here in the publishing mode, the publishing buttons have kind of moved to the upper right-hand corner. Again, I'm in a demo account, so let me switch accounts real quick. Sorry about that.
Hello, Alan.
Hey there.
All right. Sorry, I'm just bringing up an app that I can look at. Share my screen again. So you can see can you guys see my screen yet? There we go. So the publishing buttons will have moved up here to the right-hand corner. We've kind of broken them out into their own components, so you can publish, or you can export, or you can share kind of in its own menu. And we're going to be adding more things into these menus as well, so you have more capabilities of publishing and exporting. That's pretty much it from the new UI. I mean, we've changed, down here the console logs. We've changed kind of the look and feel a little bit. You'll see that it's a little bit darker in many places, so hopefully there's better contrast and better, readability. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Any questions about the new interface? Cool.
I think there isn't any. It seems like it's designed to be more intuitive and user-friendly. Are there anything you want to add, Alan? Because you have been working on it too.
Well, actually, I haven't really done much with this new interface. It was pretty much all Brian. So, yeah, it's exciting stuff. I like that we have more, seem to have more screen real estate, seem to have things less kind of squished together and more out of the way. So, yeah. I guess by way of question, though, to Brian is what is coming up, with what's the next kind of phase, or did you want to talk about that later?
Yeah, I did a little bit earlier, but I think, yeah, the high level is that the main goal is to get away from modals for a lot of the kind of important parts of your app. So, from a pure UI perspective, we're going to be moving things like data and custom code and those things just into their own pages, and you'll see those things coming soon. And the rest of it's just really preparing for all the other new features that we're bringing to Draftbit in the future. Which I don't know, Ramesa, do you want to jump into that now, or should we talk about that in a little while?
I think we can wait for it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because there are lots of other updates that we can talk about beforehand, I guess.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of updates over the last couple months that are worth mentioning. So. Yeah.
First of all, maybe we can just talk about or move on to the AI-powered features that we have lately, like the AI code assistant and the AI image generator. So my question about this, what should our users expect, and how can they get the most out of these tools during their development experience in the builder? Because Is there an advantage over using GPT-4 directly or GPT-4o? My question. So
Yeah, I mean that's really that's where we're bringing in a kind of AI layer to help, and these are kind of the first two versions we brought in. The way we look at this is that we wanted to give all of our users access directly in the builder so that you can just directly edit things. You can certainly always open your own, ChatGPT or use another, Claude or whatever, another LLM, and you can copy and paste code. But this is kind of directly integrated, so it makes it easier to kind of just use inside of Draftbit. We do kind of think of it as an external integration. So like we give you some starting credits, but if you want to use it, more proactively, you need to go and add in your go get an open AI API key, and bring that into your settings, so then you can use it kind of at an unlimited basis. Yeah, but right now, that we've added the two starting versions, which is the code generator and the image generator. So you can obviously, with code generator, you can generate custom code, custom functions, custom components, things like that. With the AI image generator, it's really just a way to create new assets. So new images, if you want a particular splash screen or pattern behind your app or something like that, you can generate images to do that. And those use OpenAI's ChatGPT 4, and we're updating it to the new one they released the other day. So the goal is to help you move faster in generating those things. I think the code generator can help you create some basic functions. It can help you debug. Why isn't this bit of custom code working? So, and it's going to get better over time. I think so. If you tell us where it's not working, if you give us feedback, then we can make that better, obviously. And I think it's really the beginning of us adding in a lot more AI features into Draftbit overall. Our goal is to help you, and then like down the road a little bit, we're working on this now, is to help you generate screens and blocks, create whole screens and whole blocks using AI prompts, and eventually generating kind of full starting app templates, app starting points, based on your ideas. So that's kind of where we're going with the AI features.
yeah, sounds very exciting. Do we have any questions regarding that to Brian? I'm asking to our attorneys. Yes, Sean.
Hi, I actually had a question, sorry, a little bit outside of the AI, in terms of maybe a roadmap. I was wondering if there's been consideration for certain animations, like a refresh, pull down screen that I've seen in other apps. Is that something that can be implemented with Draftbit, or is it more leaning towards custom code?
Right now, you would definitely need some custom code to accomplish that. We have more. I mean, you said animations, but I would say more swipe-based triggers would be something that we have to do actions on, and we could certainly look to kind of prioritize those. I don't remember where they're at in our roadmap right now, but yeah, I think having more swipe triggers so that you can pull down something, and then can certainly. We've struggled with bringing in animations in general into Draftbit because of the configuration of animations can be quite complicated, like animated transitions and things like that. It is also on our roadmap to be able to do some of that, but it's not in the short-term roadmap, I would say. But I think adding the swipe triggers, I don't think that's terribly hard for us to add in. So maybe something we can elevate.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Roman, I see a question in the chat.
Yep.
You have a question about packages, custom components, and product philosophy. Go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So I guess the first question, very similar to what Sean was just asking. Like, I kind of was working with Draftbit for about, I don't know, 6 months or so. So I think I'm pretty good at everything the product has to offer, and I can build pretty much anything, kind of, which is great. And I really appreciate the flexibility, which nobody else offers to my knowledge. But I feel like I hit a wall, especially with design, like where I want to do some stuff for web or whatever. And maybe instead of building or replicating what other libraries provide within Draftbit. Like, how can I use those libraries, maybe connect them with some custom components and like get that today, so to speak. I would appreciate, if it's possible, I would appreciate like a office hours, 1 hour session, our usual stuff, where you can just like show me, okay, you know, this is how you can do this, take this library and it gives you, you know, elements rotating through the screen as a user scrolls through the screen kind of stuff. And this is how you package it in a custom component. And then I can take this example and run with this and do the same stuff 10 times over as I need. So I would love that flexibility. And the second AI thing you already mentioned was another question. I think like when I do some other stuff on the side, like my blog I was doing yesterday, like I have my ChatGPT open and it's like, you know, you know, generate some boilerplate code for me to start with or whatever. So it's kind of like, I guess, goes away from manually selecting elements to more of a prompting and then just doing that, which seems like you're already doing, which is great. And for product philosophy, I guess the question is, how should I think about Draftbit's place in the world? Like, so far I was using it as a MVP development. I have an idea, I want to quickly do it. But like you have to kind of graduate beyond it unless it's more extensible potentially. Like I'm just curious, like do you see it as that kind of offer, or is it more of a you can scale, you know, from MVP to something and therefore you can, you know, use it, you know, for like enterprise security or whatever, you need to consider these features, or for like data, all this kind of boring things that I honestly have no idea, but I assume that there is something beyond the MVP that, you know, a list of questions and like, how do I just say, okay, now I can have to go and build myself based on the code I generated and extend it myself manually, or can I grow with it, or can the tool grow with it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we have many users that grow with our platform. Obviously, you know, every app is different and every kind of situation is different, but we definitely have many users that have built apps and they're in production and they use Draftbit to update it in production and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's definitely not, we're definitely not just for MVPs. Let's just put it that way. But you know, I think the other thing that's core to Draftbit is that we want you to kind of work with Draftbit in the way that's best for you. So we have users that use Draftbit for creating the UI and then they push that into GitHub and then they do their own GitHub deployments. We have users that obviously use Draftbit for everything, right? So you can kind of pick where you want, where and how you want to use Draftbit in your development stack with the rest of your team, and sort of depends if that makes sense. I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack in there, but yeah, I mean, we think of ourselves as building, you know, the app that you can go from idea to production. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about the packages? Do you think is it something that's possible, or is it like
Yeah, so custom packages are tricky. We actually just added a warning into custom packages as part of the new release that actually kind of just makes sure people understand what it's kind of bringing in custom packages from NPM is something that is maybe the most frequent way that people break their apps in Draftbit. And it's kind of tricky because there's a lot of packages on NPM, and not all of them are compatible with React Native. Not all of them are compatible with building React Native apps in the way that we build and using Expo and things like that. And so, you know, but we don't have perfect knowledge of everything in NPM, so we don't know whether package A or package B is going to work or not. So people will import some sort of random package they find, and then it will break their app, and then they're sort of like, well, there's I think millions of packages on NPM, so there's no way for us to know.
Yeah.
But I think like the two things. One, I think like you can certainly do what you said earlier, which is you can bring in custom packages, create custom components, or use those packages and custom functions and kind of create custom functionality. You can certainly do that. And you can do that today. And I think certainly Rumesa, we could do a whole office hours on, you know, how to bring in a custom package. And, you know, like the most common custom package actually gets brought, or one of the most one gets brought in is like, you know, charting libraries. People want to create custom chart components or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a good use case. So we could certainly show you how to do that. And and do that over time. And so, yeah, I think that's a good thing. As far as like the rest of custom packages, one of the tricky things that comes up is having packages that require compile time, like when you actually build the application, have them be integrated. And so that requires a change in how we do publishing. So a lot of times, if you want to use a package like that, you can only see it or use it when you kind of push your app into test flight, when you publish your app. You can't use it in the previews right now. So there are certain packages like that require that stuff. We are working to make that easier and better. It's a slow process, but I think in the next couple of months, I'm hopeful that we'll have a solution to be able to do kind of a draft publish and then see your app in Draftbit in the simulators using those custom libraries that you've brought in. Probably not in the design mode, because design mode is kind of a unique way of being able to preview things live. But I think in the simulator previews, iOS and Android, you will be able to hopefully show you a preview of your app before you put it in test flight that includes your custom packages. That's our goal.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome to kind of look at I use the Stripe as an example, right, for the checkout stuff, and so it's fine. But I'm not curious about those custom design elements that I just not sure how to.
Well, and that actually, Roman, that hits on another thing that's on our, I would say, medium-term roadmap, which is we have some short-term roadmap things that we're focusing on, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But down the road, like there are certain sets of functionality that we want to bring more closely into Draftbit, and so we'll work on integrations with things like Stripe, Segment. We have a Segment integration that's in beta right now, but like we'll kind of make more integrations over time that allow certain libraries, certain companies, certain products to be closer to Draftbit, to have a tighter integration. It's not going to be everything in NPM. It'll probably be like, we'll probably start with 3 or 4 or 5 of them. But Stripe will definitely be on that list because Stripe is an important thing. So we're hoping to make that actually more productized in the future, so it'll be easier to use Stripe.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Back to you, Ramesa.
Yes, I think we have already talked about custom package imports warnings. Just that remind me some other improvements in the builder. They seem like small features, but actually they have greatly improved the user experience. I'm talking about the new text editor model for input fields in general, while we have Alan here, and also usage tracking of variables like screen function search. So let's discuss about these updates. Alan, can you give us some expand on those topics?
Sure. Well,
especially,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna start with new text editor model. So I haven't tested yet, but I think it now allows kind of selecting the data type also. Can you introduce us a little bit?
Well, yeah. So the basic idea here is to make it easier to edit large text. Let me. Don't have my screen set up right now. I don't know if somebody's got it open, but I can.
Yeah, we can share. I can share my screen. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah. So the main if you go to for example, like if you go to a text element and you put some variable in your text. So I'm sure most of you will be familiar with this experience here. You have a variable in a text, and you can select an option for it. You can also type in in that select. You can type in like hello or whatever, and select that. Now the problem here emerges when you can also put in like JSON elements here, like you can type in a JSON. But if you have something large, whether it's a large text or a large JSON, it becomes very difficult to kind of see what's in the text. See what it's in that menu, or to edit it, because if you click back in there, you'll see that the cursor just goes to the beginning of that string, and it doesn't let you select or copy that text. So yeah, you have that long string there, and if you click into it, you can't like see, your cursor doesn't allow you to capture that. That's a limitation of this library that we're using for that text editor. And of course, we could try and manipulate that library, but what we did is something better, which is that button that you see to the right now. You click that, it opens up an editor that you can have a lot more space to work with. You can put in, as much text as you need into this editor, and you can also do the same thing with JSON. So if you instead wanted to enter in JSON here, you now have a nice text editor for JSON with syntax highlighting. And if you paste in some, I don't know if you have any JSON there, but
I don't have any JSON ready now.
You just type some in. You can imagine that if you have a large JSON object, it can be kind of, difficult to see what its structure is. But if in this editor now you have a format button, so even if you have a large amount of JSON, you can click format, and you'll be able to see it all nicely rendered out. You can edit it. You can see if you have an error in your JSON, you'll see an error down below. So you can see like, okay, so I've got something wrong on, in my JSON. So yeah, that's just a much better experience for large text or for large JSON objects. And of course, once you're done editing, you can click save, and you'll have the object. You have to stringify JSON if you but,
it's okay.
Yeah.
In this case, I was putting JSON into a text field, so that's why you saw the error. But
I'm sure everybody has seen that error before, but it's not our fault. But yeah, there we go. That's the new editor. You'll also see it in a custom block or in a screen in the navigation or block properties section. So I don't know if you want to go there, but yeah, if you create a navigation parameter, and you can now click this little. We got a spacing issue there on the left, but anyway, we'll want to add a little bit of margin there. But you can now edit with the same editor for your parameters or your block properties. It all works the same way. Yeah, we'll update
That's a great feature. Thank you. And following that, I mean, let's talk about the new usage tracking of variables. How does this feature?
Yeah. Well, have we unfeature flagged that? Have we officially released that? I don't remember if we.
I think we did.
We did. Okay, awesome. All right, just wanted to make.
I saw something. Yeah, I think I saw it in my thing. So it's really nice. Thank you.
Good. Well, Brian, if you want to share maybe one more time, we can probably use that same app to track some of these things. So there's a number of places now where we've added this, but the basic idea is that a lot of times it's difficult to know where a particular object is being used in your app, whether it's a variable or a screen variable or a REST API endpoint, something. You want to know, where am I actually using this thing? How do I know I can delete it? Or should I not delete it because it's important? So if we just add some add some variable there. And we've got now we've got a global variable. Let's go and use it somewhere, and we can see how it's how this feature works. So yeah, let's assign to our global variable. Now, if we go back to the global variables menu, we should see now that this variable here, we have this little button there that says that this variable is in use, and you can click in to see where it's in use. So it's use on this component, and you click that. You can click on the component, and it'll take you to that component. Even if it's on a different screen or whatever, it'll navigate you to that component so you can see exactly where it's being used. This is the same concept is in a number of places now. Like I said, we're going to add a few more, but it works for global variables. It also works if you create a screen variable. Maybe we can demo that. We have, I don't know, maybe we already have some screen variables, but anyway.
Not in this app, I don't think, but yeah.
So let's add one. Yeah. Save it. Now we got a variable, and you can see initially it's 0 components. There's a little in the variable there, it says 0 components, meaning nothing's using it yet. And if we go and assign that to our text, then we'll be able to see that this is being used. Yeah, same kind of deal. Yeah, one component, and it's being used by one component. And yeah, so you'll notice this in a few other places. We don't have to go through every one of them, but there's a number of places where now we have usage tracking, which will hopefully make it easier to know what's being used by what. And we might expand the places where we have this tracking. We might expand the sort of detail that's involved to show if it's being used in like an action or being used in a as a reference to somewhere. And anyway, that we'll probably get more detailed with that over time, but hopefully this is useful in its current state to understand your where things are being used in your app.
For sure. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. These are powerful features, I guess. And
sounds like a whole new SaaS startup, especially if you think about like some huge old companies with like code that nobody can untangle.
Yeah, the goal is to make it a little bit easier to understand, even with a very large, complicated app, to understand how it all fits together.
Yeah, actually, we have many other updates that we can talk about, but I don't know if we can continue with these, or maybe we can just move on to our upcoming improvements or roadmap.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't think there's a bunch of other smaller updates that we can talk about and that we'll release if we haven't already. A bigger announcement for in the community. I think like I sort of hinted at some of the future roadmap things that we're working on, but just kind of restate like kind of where we're headed is we want to make it easier for folks to create new screens and new apps in Draftbit. So we're adding in an AI layer to let you generate those things. We're also going to be working on improving the theming systems in Draftbit. So I want to make it easier for you to create create sort of a theme for your whole app and then utilize that theme everywhere. And then when you add a new component or a new screen or a new block into your app, that it automatically kind of looks correct to your theme, right? And so it's going to make adding components into your app a lot easier and faster. It will eventually let us, when you bring in an example screen or you bring in something else, it'll automatically be kind of styled to your app's theme. And the last thing is we're working to make it easier to bring in APIs and keep them up to date. So something Alan has been working on for a little while, but we're going to make it easy for you to import your API automatically and keep your API up to date with your backend. So instead of having to manually import your backend, if your backend supports a Swagger file, which is kind of a standard way to share information about APIs, you'll be able to import that and potentially keep it up to date so that we'll refresh things over time so that you can get started using a backend right away in a new app, or keep your app up to date with the API endpoints that you need over time and the changes you make to the backend. And then kind of our goal in the long run of that is to help users actually spin up a new backend, not a Draftbit integrated backend, but a open source backend that you can attach to your Draftbit project that will help you kind of run. That's a little bit longer term, but something we're working on. And then, I hinted on some of these other things, like we're constantly improving our Jigsaw components. We're going to keep improving those and adding new ones. We're also going to hopefully launch in a couple of months the ability to have kind of we have example screens, or hopefully we have example blocks. So blocks that you can import and use in your app of kind of higher level functionality. So that could be things like login forms and authentication flows and payment forms, anything like that. Not just forms, but all kinds of different things that are made up of bits. We have bits and blocks. Since we've launched this blocks feature a couple months ago, we're going to take that and now have more of a kind of marketplace of those blocks that you can use and share and post and kind of leverage. So those are kind of some of the things that are coming down the pike, as well as more UI changes like we talked about at the very beginning to improve the UI and UX and make it easier to get started. So that's kind of all the things we're focused on.
Thank you. I have a question. Expo released Expo 50 JK. So what is our horizon for updating to Expo 50 or 51?
Yeah, good question. So we should, in the next week or two, release kind of the beta for Expo 50 to be in Draftbit. So we'll have an open period where users can update their apps, try updating, see if they run into any problems. There's always, if you have no custom packages and no custom code in your app, it'll work just fine and it'll be perfect. But if you have custom packages that are set to certain versions, you need to update those and make sure it's working. So we will open up kind of a period, again, I would say probably by the end of May, to have Expo 50 in your Draftbit apps, and then we'll have probably a period of about a month or 2 months where you can kind of migrate yourself before we force migrate everyone months from now, I would say. And so that's kind of our path for 50. And then we'll do the same thing for 51 once we've kind of crossed the threshold for 50. We like to stay about 6 months behind the newest thing that Expo has released, because sometimes when things get newly released, they are not quite as stable as we would hope them to be, right? And so we want the experience to be good for our users and have all those things worked out. So that's kind of our path. Every 6 months, we kind of update the Expo version and help kind of migrate there, but we're doing it more slowly than we used to do in the past. There were times in Draftbit's history when we were a younger company where we would just update everyone's app, and we're not doing that anymore. So if there's a time now for you to migrate yourself and kind of make a smooth migration, and if you switch to Expo 50 when we launch that beta and it's not working, obviously send us feedback. We'll see if there's any issues we can correct or we can help you migrate your app to the newest version.
Yeah, thank you for clarification. And now I chose 2 community posts, feature requests from our community posts. There has been requests regarding, for example, import screens from other projects. Is this something on our roadmap?
It's not on our roadmap, but it's a good idea. I think something we can talk about at the next at our next kind of sprint planning meeting. But yeah, I think I don't know, Alan, if you want to pontificate on how easy or hard that would be, but we can certainly talk about it. It's not on the roadmap currently.
It's the kind of thing that's like we have all the pieces in place. We would just need to figure out a UI for it, and the kind of solve some weird edge cases that would inevitably come up. But like it's in the operation is the same as what we're doing for example screens, for example. So yeah, definitely doable. We just need to figure it out.
Great.
Okay. We have actually much more things to talk about, but we don't have much time. So
Good.
maybe we can just talk about some exciting news about our new MVP plan.
Yeah, good stuff. So one of the things we're helping new users with is just kind of like building out your first set of screens and getting connected to your basic backend. I think one thing we've seen is that Draftbit is a really powerful tool, but just like any powerful tool, when you get in the first time, it can be a little bit daunting to like get started. So we want to make that process a little bit easier for new users. So one of the things we're doing is for a couple $100, we will build out your first couple screens for you and connect to your backend for you and kind of help you get set up in Draftbit and kind of get going on your project. So if you're interested in that, reach out to our support team, help@draftbit.com, or use the chat widget inside the builder, and we can kind of get you set up. The process for that is we'll send you a form, and you fill out the form and tell us a little bit about your app. And if we think it's a good fit for that project, then we'll kind of send you back details after that. We can't build everything on that kind of like that service. So if you have a complex functionality, if you need to do like live streaming video or something that requires a lot of custom code or something that's not going to work for that kind of MVP starter kit. But if you're building kind of the a basic app or want to get kind of an MVP going, I think it can be really helpful for that.
Okay, thank you. And we have also an ongoing discount or offering for expert services, I believe.
Yeah, we're right now running a promotion for our experts team. And Rahul, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So we're offering a 25% discount on our silver plans for the first month when you start a project with us on the experts team. Again, depending on what requirements you have from the experts team, we kind of pitch a plan for you. And silver works out to be one of the most consistent plans that we can help our users with. So we have started off with the silver plan, offering a 25% discount for the first month.
Just on the previous discussion, I think importing screens from different apps would be nice because like rebuilding the same login page is kind of annoying. Ideally, if there's like, I don't know, if you currently can have a library and I can like from different apps, I like this checkout screen I send to my library, like say, this from different app, then eventually I can just kind of pick and choose from this already built list of screens quicker.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So we're just, I think I mentioned this earlier in the rev, but I probably wasn't super clear about it. We in the future will we're gonna let you import blocks from this like directory. And then the next step of that is to be able to publish your own blocks into the directory, right? And so when you're able to publish your blocks, we can do the same thing with screens because they're very similar. So you'll be able to hopefully publish your blocks and screens into, I think it's a good idea to have like your personal library, probably your workspace, so that other members of your team can see things. And then, there also will be eventually a public thing where you can actually publish things to other users to be able to use, whether they're blocks or screens or whatnot. So that's something, again, probably a couple months away, but that's something we definitely want to do. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody.
Yes, thank you, Brian, Rahul, Alan, Roman, and everything who joined for sharing also these exciting updates and insights with us today. So we appreciate all the hard work that has gone into these new features and improvements. So big shout out to our team. And just a quick reminder, if you have more questions or need further assistance, please feel free to reach out to our support team or join our community so that you can connect with other Draftbit experts and users. And don't forget to check out the new MVP plan details and take advantage to our special offer that Brian and Rahul mentioned about expert plans. And that's all. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for joining.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much for organizing. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.